Well, the case for emerging markets has been the same since I got involved with emerging markets 20 years ago. Emerging markets have 85% of the world's people, so basically most of the world's people. They're younger, they have better demographics, so it's about 90% of the future. Their economies are growing faster than the developed world economies, and that growth is driving consumption. So ultimately what emerging markets are all about, and the reason investors should invest in emerging markets, is because you have 6.5 billion people and they're moving on up and they want all the things that we have. They want more food, better clothing, they want heaters and air conditioners, they want to go to movies, take a vacation, get a car, and they want their kids to go to college. And that's the story, and it's a very big deal. In fact, McKinsey calls it the biggest growth story in the history of capitalism. So that's the reason investors should want to invest in emerging markets. Well, the problem with emerging markets is the index itself. And this is something I learned on the first day 20 years ago when I got involved with emerging markets. And it's a real problem. Emerging markets indexes in the last 10 years have gone nowhere. And the reason they've gone nowhere is they've had no revenue growth and no earnings growth. And ultimately it's growth of earnings that make stocks more valuable. And the culprit in this, in emerging markets, are the state-owned enterprises. These are government-owned banks and oil companies, and they're inefficient. They have significant conflicts of interest, and they're full of corruption. And so that's the reason why investors should definitely stay away from the broad traditional indexes and get more targeted into things that are a little bit more thematic. Well, as I mentioned, the growth, the real opportunity in emerging markets is the consumer growth. But what's happening in emerging markets is all of those new consumers are also getting their first computer for today, basically. It's an Android-based smartphone. And they're getting the internet for the first time. And because the emerging market consumer has never had a bank account, they don't have a credit card, they don't have an automobile, they're leapfrogging, and they're even more digital than we are. And so the tip of the spear of the growth, the best growth in emerging markets, are the entrepreneurial internet companies. India is definitely the most emerging market. It has everything you want. It's the biggest population ever. Today it set a record, tomorrow it'll set a record. If you leave out China, India is bigger than all of the other emerging markets combined. So the scale of it is by far the biggest, has the best demographics, the youngest population, has the fastest growing economy, and that's driving growth. And just like we saw in the United States, just like we saw in China, but in the case of India, it's very, very early. So the digital future of India is in its earliest days, and it's got probably 20 years of very significant growth ahead. In India, for example, we own a number of different internet companies. We own Zomato, which is not only the Deliveroo or DoorDash of India, it's also the leader in restaurant supplies. It's the leader in what is the fastest growing part of India, quick commerce, which is 10-minute delivery of anything, which is a fascinating business model that's emerging in India. We own online insurance, PolicyBazaar. We own online beauty products, Nykaa, which is like the Sephora of India. We also own travel companies, Make My Trip, which you want a hotel room or a plane ticket or a train ticket. It's the same kind of things we have on our phones, but it's the local version, the Indian version. Well, I think it's as good as you're ever going to get. Again, it's the biggest, youngest, fastest growing, driving consumption. That's the reason you're in emerging markets in the first place. And it's very, very early. In almost every vertical, these companies can go 300-400%, and they'll still be early in terms of the long-term opportunity. So I think that in the next 10-20 years, there really is no better country to be in than India.